Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks with us about the NBA draft. Also talks to us a little bit about J.J. Redick getting hired by the L.A. Lakers. Then we transition to baseball and do a little bit of sports potpourri with New York City's own baseball insider, my main man, Nick Picht. Thoughts? Any thoughts off the top? This is an underwhelming draft. And we talked to King McClure about this. Not to say that there aren't players who will play huge roles in teams winning championships. King tells us that's his illumination of the situation, not mine. But as somebody who just is sitting back watching the draft or looking forward to it, there's not a ton to look forward to.
No, there's not. And I mean, I am a fan of a team who picks early on too at 3, and it's like do you find somebody here? Is there the guy that you need that's that missing piece for that Rockets rebuild, or is it a spot where you trade out? Like, it's a very interesting, place to be in. But you said, as King brought up too, there are players in this draft that will make an impact for teams. I know we can look at the draft as a whole and be like, it seems kind of weak, but we can go back and, nitpick at all these other drafts before and find similar ones like that too. It doesn't mean that there won't be players in here that'll end up having a big effect for teams.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I'm looking forward to it. I liked the pomp and circumstance that comes with it. I like that it's 2 nights this year.
It's a first, right?
Yeah, it's very first time. So it'll be cool to see how ESPN broadcasts it and to see the players that get picked. And I look forward. Somebody like me, somebody like King, who we talks to, he is the guy that's going to educate us on these players tomorrow night and obviously and tonight. So I look forward to learning a lot more about these guys, learning the stories about them. There are guys I know from having covered them the past year, but there are so many more who I think we get to learn a lot about tomorrow night.
No, for sure. And that's the thing. We're going to be able to learn stories we didn't know, as you said, and kind of find players to root for. I always seem, without fail, no matter what sport it is, a draft that I watch, I will gain one new player that I'm like, you know what? I didn't know about that guy. I'm gonna pay attention just a little bit more. Follow. It's nice to see the human element more of some of these players, though.
From Zach's player to the no look, King McClure, take it from here. All right, you ready? We go back to. We got to get to business now because I could have too much fun with you. Now, you are uniquely qualified to provide insight on the draft, and you're also a positive guy. You're going up to Bristol tomorrow. You're going to be a part of ESPN's draft coverage. You'll be alongside Brian Windhorst hosting the Hoop Collective. Tell me why this draft doesn't suck.
So I think that we can make a lot of cases on why this draft isn't as bad as everybody says it is, because when you watch the NBA Finals, I think that one thing that we really saw, you have your Jason Tatums, you have your Jaylen Browns, you have your Lukas, you have your Kyries, but when you look, everybody else on the court were valuable role players. Derek White, Drew Holiday, P.J. Washington, Derek Jones. I mean, the Celtics do not win this championship if there's no Drew Holiday, if there's no Derek White. And those two guys are elite level role players. And a lot of times people hear the word role player and they think it is a knock. No, about 90% of the NBA, maybe even 95% of the NBA are role players. So the reason why I don't think this draft sucks is you might not be able to find your Jason Tatums. You might not be able to find your Luka Doncic's. You might not find that superstar caliber player, but you can find your Derek Whites. You can find your Drew Holidays that can contribute to winning. And a lot of these guys are ready right now to contribute and make an impact on a winning team that helps you win games and brings you success for years to come.
All right, who's the guy, because you just brought me to my next question, who is the guy tomorrow night that you are so excited to talk about? The guy who, when his name comes up, whether it's top 5, top 10, who you can't wait to just really give your knowledge about him, and I know how passionate you are, talk about this guy's background and why he's going to be good.
Yeah, Robert Dillingham. I think the point guard from Kentucky, Robert Dillingham, is going to be. Yeah, I just said we don't have that many stars in this class. I think Robert Dillingham is one of the few that we will see. I mean, when you look at his numbers at Kentucky, he shot over 50% from the field, about 44 from the three-point line, and averaged 4 assists. My man is about 6'1", and the only knock on his game that I can actually see, and I wouldn't even say it's a knock, and it's crazy that I'm going to say this because I just don't believe in this, but he doesn't play any defense, right? I'm a two-way guy. I like guys that give effort on both ends. My man just doesn't give effort. But you know what? When you shoot over 44 from three and over 50 from the field, you're as efficient as he is. You can get your teammates involved, and you make that much of an impact on the offensive side, I will let you slide. So if they pair that, if the Spurs were to get a guy like him and pair that with a Wemby or maybe a Donovan clinging to alongside of Wemby, you can take a risk on a guy and have a successful career. Because I think he is at least his ceiling is, I don't want to say his ceiling, but I think our close comparison would probably be a Darius Garland. I mean, he's that level of player, and Darius Garland was an all-star. So
Yeah.
I think that Rob Dillingham has a chance to be a high-level pro. I think he will be a star in the NBA.
I love it. All right. I love the decisiveness. Now, you're coming into this. You mentioned impact guys. Who's another guy who is ready to contribute right away that will come off the board early? Because we look at these, you got the Hawks, the Wizards, Rockets, Spurs, Pistons, top five. And that's barring any action or any trades, right? And we'll leave that to Windhorse tomorrow night, right? Like he'll handle that aspect of it for you. But they're not so alluring, these guys in the top five. But who is a guy that'll get taken in the top five, top seven that you think will come right into the league and have an impact?
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like Dalton Connect, and I mean, I love him. I loved every single thing he brought to the table in college.
I remember you loved him out of the portal. You loved him out of Northern Colorado. You loved him.
I love him. And everywhere that this guy has went, he has had success. And he's just leveled up each year. And he's just dominated. I mean, when you look at it, he had over 8 30-point games last year. The game against Purdue, he think he had like 37. Was just carrying his team.
Against elite competition.
Against the elite competition, no matter where it was. I mean, in the SEC, he dominated. And if it wasn't for Zach Edey just being an absolute freak, we're talking about Dalton Connect being the National Player of the Year. It's not even close. Like, this guy can make an instant impact. He's old, and he can really space the floor. So no matter what team you put him on right now, immediately the one thing that he can contribute is spacing the floor. But he's not just a shooter. He can put it on the floor. He can make plays. He is crazy athletic, which is honestly a little surprising. But he's probably one of the most athletic players we will see taken in the first round. His pick and roll decision, the pace that he plays at, is phenomenal. 3-level scorer. I mean, this is the guy, as tough as he is, this is a guy who, no matter what team he goes on, he will make an instant impact. And I think teams would be crazy to let him slip past 5. So he has to be taken in the top 5 because I actually saw someone on Instagram today that said matching him up with the Hornets on the Hornets.
Brandon Miller
and LaMelo Ball would actually be a pretty cool thing. And I like that. I mean, put him at the 2 spot and let Brandon Miller play the 3, or vice versa, with LaMelo Ball at the 1. I don't hate that at all. But Dalton Connect is a guy that has to go top 5, and he's ready to make an instant impact.
Who's a guy that nobody's talking about, or at least isn't like a guy with a lot of sizzle that you feel like will get taken tomorrow night that'll have an impact right away?
Bub Carrington from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think that when you look at his game, for him to be so young, a 6'5" point guard, the way that he plays out of a pick and roll, the tough shots that he makes, I mean, this young man has every tool in the book to be a star. He'd probably be my second guy that I would just bet my money on. Like, if I was a gambling man, I'm not really a betting man, right? But if I was, Bub Carrington is definitely a guy who I put my money on in this year's draft to be an absolute star because he plays at such a great pace and at such control. He has creativity with his handle. He's a 3-level scorer. He's not great at getting to the rim yet, but I think that he's just turned 19. I think that the deficiencies in his game can easily be learned and be taught, and he can turn into a guy that we're talking about for 10 plus years. He's that level of good. I mean, he can shoot it off the bounce, and that's typically one thing I really look at, Pete. Like a lot of times you look at a guy and you're saying, okay, he's efficient. But I'm looking at how did he get his shots? Like with the efficiency, how did this young man score the basketball? And Bub Carrington is shooting it off the bounce. It's the step back threes. It's being able to be patient, explode to a spot, get to the one dribble pull-ups. I mean, that right there, when I look at it, same thing with Rob Dillingham. It's the types of shots that they take and that they make. And they're doing it. They're not easy shots to do it. They're making tough shots at a high efficient clip for a whole season. That right there to me is a no-brainer that these guys it's going to translate and it's going to be good. They're going to be good. So Bub Carrington is a guy who I don't think is getting much love. Well, I mean, he's getting a little bit of love, but ain't getting much love, not getting that much hype or get talked about as much as everybody else. But he's a guy that we can look up in about 10 years and be like, dang, he had a great career.
Well, and that's the kind of guy that this draft is really all about, in my opinion, because there's just not – again, you're 1,000% spot on when there's going to be guys in this draft who help round out championship teams. That's how it works. But there's not those guys that jump off the page that you're so excited about. There's not a Wemby even to bring all the hype to the forefront. Yeah. And I love how you mentioned you have to watch how a guy gets his shot off. I know you watch a lot of film, and when you're watching film of these guys playing last year, whether it was in high school or overseas. How much of that do you pay attention to, like a guy who can create his own shot as opposed to somebody who's playing in an offense where he's going to get it in the right spot thanks to a great passer or a great player?
Yeah, I pay attention to that a lot. I think the biggest thing is when I'm watching film on these guys, the first thing I look at is what is your NBA skill? Like if I put you on an NBA court right now, how can you contribute? And there's guys who do it in a variety of ways. You look at a guy like Devin Carter from Providence. The first thing that sticks out to me is defense. Defensively, that young man can be special. He can make an impact immediately by guarding the opposing team's best player. Same thing, I put him and Stephon Castle from UConn in the same category. I mean, Stephon Castle, both these guys are crazy athletic. They don't have great size, but they have good size. But the one area where they can make an instant impact is defense. I mean, Devin Carter is a better offensive player than Stephon Castle, so I think that Devin Carter will be able to make more of an impact on the offensive side. But their contribution is defense. You look at a guy like Reed Shepard. You look at a guy like Tyler Kolek. I mean, their number one NBA skill is playmaking, getting everybody around them better. And then I would look at floor spacing. All right, they can get their own shots up. They can create for others. Look at a guy like Baylor Shireman, who might go late first, may sneak up to the early lottery, but he's an older guy. Not really a guy that can create his own shot. I mean, he can every now and then, but it's not that consistent, right? You look at a guy like Jared McCain. I mean, his contribution is going to be floor spacing. I mean, I think he's a better playmaker than what he showed at Duke, but, I mean, this guy right here can contribute defensively. He's physically ready, but I think that he could also become a playmaker. But, like, the reason I'm bringing all this up is because there's so many guys who can contribute in a variety of ways, and they're all different from each other. So I think that that's the first thing I look at when I'm watching film is what is your number one NBA skill, right? We work from there, and then it's like, okay, where are the holes in your game? Like, what do you need to improve on to add to your NBA skills? And that's typically my tactic, bro.
When you're getting ready, because you obviously you watch a lot of basketball, you call a lot of Big 12 during the season. That's the lion's share of your work. Now, you do a lot of studio work, too, so you get to see everything. How much do you find yourself working hard to watch these other players to get ready for what you're doing tomorrow night, and just because you're a basketball guy?
Yeah, I mean, I watch so much college basketball during the year that a lot of these guys, when you look at the top college basketball players in the country, I already know. So I already know their tendencies. I already know their strengths, their weaknesses. But there's a lot of guys from overseas. We look at a guy like Zachary Rissochet. We look at
Alex Sarr.
Sarr. We look at those guys, Topic. I forgot how to pronounce my man's name, but I'm not a huge fan of his game anyway.
Which one?
Salon? What's his first name?
Salon, like Tishan?
Yeah. Not a huge fan of his game.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to ask you about that, because is there a guy who's kind of getting, I mean, that's a guy who's in the top lottery for sure. Why don't you love his game?
I think there are a lot of holes. I think he is a raw project, and he has the things that you just can't teach. He has the size, the athleticism, the God-given gifts that I wasn't blessed with, and a lot of other people in this world weren't blessed with.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you look at him and you're like, interesting. But then you look at his shooting numbers. You look at him putting the ball on the floor, and it just doesn't look fluid. It doesn't look smooth. He's not a great creator. He doesn't really play make for others. Getting to the rim, he's more of like I'm in the wing. I'm taking a one dribble, getting to the rim. If I can't take one dribble to get to the rim, I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm going to do. He has a very thin frame. The physicality that some of these NBA players will play with, I think would really, really bother him. I mean, I think the one thing that he can do is defend decently. I don't think he's a great defender. I think he's a really good defender, but not a great defender yet. He's an average shooter. I'm just not a huge fan of his game, and I think that if you're in a position for a team where you're willing to grow and develop a guy, he could be your guy because you could hit big on him. They're talking about he's the next Giannis. I'm not going to take it that far, but they're talking about that. I mean, you can potentially hit big on him, but I just personally wouldn't take a raw project in the lottery.
In the lottery, yeah. And I want to ask you about guys in the lottery, or a guy who could sneak into the lottery when I bring up these two guys from Baylor, guys who you know a lot about. Yves Missi, Jacoby Walter. Jacoby could sneak into the lottery. What do you think about those two guys, and who do you think will have more of an impact in the NBA immediately, right now? Like what we saw from Jeremy Sohan has been very impressive. Just his ability just to transition and bounce and play. Which one of those two guys you think would follow that lead?
Yves Missi, and I think it's a no-brainer. Yves Missi. I think that I love Jacoby. I think he is talented. I think he has some upside, but when I watch his film, when I study him, he has a lot of holes in his game. He didn't shoot the ball great from three. Playing the two spot, I expect you to shoot the ball at a higher clip. And when Big 12 play came, when better competition was there, he struggled even more and took a major dip. Right, non-conference, he shot the ball pretty decently. I want to say around maybe 36, 37. All right, I'm cool with that. But then when Big 12 conference play, you took a major dip to now. So now your overall total three-point percentage is around 31, 32. In my personal opinion, that's not good enough. So then I'm looking at, all right, can you get to the cup? Like, can you get to the rim consistently? He struggled to create his own shot. So if you're not shooting open threes at a high clip, if you're not being able to get the ball off the shoot, get it off the bounce, to me, it's almost as if, okay, so now what skill are you bringing to the table immediately? I think he can develop and grow into that. But off of rip, I think that he might struggle a little bit because of some of the holes. But on the flip side to that, Yves Missi is a guy in which, we talked about athletic tools that only God can give you. He has those. At 7 foot, the way he moves so fluid. His ability to be able to switch on to guards as a 7-footer makes him automatically playable in the NBA. He's going to have to become a better rebounder. He's going to have to not get lost on defense. But being able to switch on guards off rip and being a solid rim protector who has a lot of upside in that area, because I don't think he's a great rim protector yet. I think he's solid, but I don't think he's great. I think he'll turn into great primarily due to the fact I think his timing is sometimes off. His timing isn't as good as you would like to see as out of a shot blocker. But I think that just the ability to sit down on the defensive side. You can switch. He can sit down. He can stay in front. He's athletic enough to be able to guard smaller guards. That right there makes you an automatic contributor from day one. So you put him on a team like OKC, who needs a backup big, maybe even like the Nuggets, who need a backup center. And he's also shown at times he can put the ball on the floor every now and then. You get it to him at the elbow. He can take 1-2 bounces, spin move. He has some potential there to put the ball on the floor a little bit. So I think Yves Missi out of those two is the no-brainer guy in which from day one will be able to play.
I think it's exciting too because when you look at where he could get taken, he can get taken by a legitimate contender, which all of a sudden brings us to the top. He becomes one of those guys that's rounding out a team, a real good team. One more thing for you, basketball. J.J. Redick getting the Lakers job. What are your thoughts about that? Too soon for him? That's a real high-profile job.
Man, I have so many thoughts on this. I think that I'll keep it simple. I think there are two things. I think number one, I actually think that this can work. And I'll get into that after I finish this first point, because I think that it sucks that JJ Redick was able to surpass so many coaches who have worked their whole career off. Like Sam Cassell's the first guy that comes to mind. But so many guys have worked so hard to get this opportunity. I mean, you even look at a guy like Joe Mazzulla, had to work his way up, finally got his opportunity, right? JJ Redick was literally coaching his son's basketball team last year and is now the Lakers coach. I mean, he surpassed so many steps to get there, and so many guys deserve the opportunity JJ got, but JJ got it solely because, in my opinion, I mean, let's backtrack. I think JJ is phenomenal. You listen to him on a call, you listen to him break down games. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. One of the best analysts that ESPN has. But let's call a spade a spade. I think the fact that this is going to work and if this is even talked about was because of the podcast that LeBron and JJ started. Now, I do not think that they started this in order for JJ to become the coach, but I think that as a result of LeBron James saying, hey, I will do a podcast with JJ Redick, the one word that comes to mind is respect. Because I don't think LeBron James, he probably got a million offers, and I don't think LeBron James would be willing to do a podcast with anybody that he just didn't respect. So I think the fact that LeBron James respects JJ Redick is going to make this work. Because how much coaching do you really do when it comes to LeBron James? He's like one of the greatest, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. You literally are more of a manager than a coach with LeBron, because he's going to go out there and do what LeBron does, because his basketball intellect and his mind on the court is at a different level than the majority of even coaches. So the fact that LeBron respects JJ and will listen to him, I personally think that it's going to work. So it sucks that JJ surpassed all these other great coaches who have been waiting for an opportunity and haven't got one yet. That sucks. However, I think that this will work, and I think that JJ Redick will actually be a really great coach.
Will you be up there for both nights, for Tuesday and Wednesday?
No, I'm there one day. I'm getting out of Dodge. I'm there one day in Bristol, Connecticut. I love going up there, but Bristol, Connecticut there's not much to do. Yeah. So I'm getting out of Dodge. I got a family reunion this weekend, actually.
So in Texas?
No, it's actually in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh, it is? It's nice. Okay. So I got one last question for you. The reason I asked about both nights is because, I want to see where Bronny James is on your radar.
Ooh, man. I've never – let me backtrack because I was about to come in hot. I'm not coming in hot, Pete. So that's what I'll say. As a guy who has dealt with the heart disease, you have to.
Yeah.
Right? We've dealt with our heart issues. I have the utmost respect for Bronny James and what he overcame and how he was able to bounce back and go back to USC and play when honestly, quite frankly, I don't know if I would have played after having a heart attack. I don't know, right? But I have the utmost respect for Bronny James, so I'll start by saying that. However, on the flip side, I've just never seen a guy who is not really an NBA player just get so much national media and so much national attention. And I get it. He's Bronny. He's LeBron's son, so of course he's going to do it. But I just don't like how they try to make it seem like Bronny is carving his own way into the league. And for me, his way of carving his own lane would be go back to school and put in the work for another year or two and then show people that you're really an NBA player. And then you'll be looked at as Bronny James, the point guard who's good enough to play in the NBA, as opposed to Bronny James, LeBron James' son, if that makes sense. But I think Bronny James has a lot of potential. I think that he's a good basketball player. Is he an NBA player? I don't think he is that yet. I think he could turn into one if he would have went back to school. But I think that there'll be an extra set of expectations and pressure on him now because he did leave early. But I do respect the fact that every single time he talks, I think he's super mature. He talks about how he wants to be like Drew Holiday, Davion Mitchell, Derek White. I mean, to me, that just shows he cares about winning, and he's all about winning, and that's all he wants to do. So I respect the hell out of Bronny because I think that he's very mature for his age. I think he's tough.
He seems like an amazing dude. Have you met him at all?
No, I've never met him, but he seems absolutely incredible. So, like, Bronny, I have the utmost respect for Bronny James, but, like, we're calling a spade,
yeah,
he's not an NBA player yet. He's good, and that's no knock on him. He's just not an NBA player yet, but he's a really, really good basketball player.
Do you think he'll be a player in this draft? And what I mean by that is a player like, is he going to – our team's going to move around to either take him or not take him? I'm so curious to see how that plays out. I hate to get all first take on you, but it sure is interesting.
I'm curious because he only conducted workouts with the Suns and the Lakers. And to me, it's just kind of weird, you know, a guy in his spot who is a fringe NBA guy probably really shouldn't be getting drafted. You know, I'm working out for every single team I can work out for. I'm putting my name on every list. Like, hey, they sign me up for this one, that one, this one, that one. But for you to try to control the narrative and only try to, you know, pick 2 teams as a at best 55th pick, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't like that aspect of it, but I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope everything works his way.
Yeah, well, things are working your way, brother. That was amazing. Really, I appreciate you sharing all your insight. I think the one thing people don't know about you, because it does come easy to you as an analyst and calling games, but you do a ton of work. You watch a lot of film. You know, I'm on the emails with you when it's like, hey, who's got like an idea for this? And then you get this laundry list from King about like 50 different dudes and all the stuff they do on tape that you see. So I appreciate you taking the time sharing that with us, man.
Nah, of course, man. You know, anytime, man. All you gotta do is call.
All right, thanks, King. Nick, I want to know why the Yankees have lost 7 of their last 10 games.
I do too. I would like to know the answer to these questions as well. It's partially you can't win them all. Baseball is the game that it is for a reason. It's partially this team is banged up.
Are you getting undressed while we're doing this?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind
of
big
podcast,
problems.
Nick. Wrong podcast.
You said Hawk Tua, and I started.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so you say because that was my question. Is this like a blip on the radar?
I hope so, man. Yeah. I hope it is. If it's not, then it's like 2022 all over again, right? But if it's a blip on the radar, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, I think the team does have like some really big issues, but it's nothing they can't address. I mean, they need a lot of bullpen help. They don't have very many guys who can like punch tickets. And it just goes to show, I say this all the time, is that Clay Holmes can have his best day, can throw his best pitch, and still get beat.
Yeah.
And that's not to shit on Clay Holmes. That's just to say that like he's a sinker ball pitcher, and when you bounce ground balls into the dirt, sometimes they find holes. Yeah. And like that's just what happens. So you need guys like I think me included, a lot of Yankee fans at the beginning of the year had like pipe dreams about getting somebody like Clase, but the Guardians are sick and their bullpen is sick, so like that's not going to happen. So
yeah, where does the help? Where does the help come from?
You're going to have to trade for somebody because there's nobody in the Yankee system that can like truly punch guys out like they need to. They don't have a Dellin Betances or a Chapman who can come in and strike 6 guys out, boom, 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 in the 8th and 9th inning of a playoff game.
What do you think?
It's a legitimate problem.
So will you watch tonight when they play the Mets? Are you going to watch the Subway Series?
Yes, dude, and my phone's going to blow up, and it sucks because my stream is like 30 seconds behind when everything happens, so I'm going to get texted by like all my friends regardless of the aisle that we're on, you know? It's like watching Trump Biden, but only on a baseball diamond. I'll have to hear it from both ends regardless of what happens.
So you have a lot of friends in your life who are Met fans, correct?
I do. A majority of my very, very competitive fantasy baseball chat, like 8 of 10 of us are Met fans.
What do those guys say about Ed Diaz?
Oh, dude, I don't even know. I've been like out of the conversation, but apparently his hand looked like he just like shot Vaseline all over it.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a pretty big deal. I think it was it a 10-day or a 10-game suspension?
Yeah, it's an auto 10-game.
Okay. What do you make of that? I
don't know, dude. Here's the other thing. Like, look how many guys have had like stuff. Remember when Joe Musgrove's ear looked like it was like fake because that's how shiny it was. Nothing happened to him.
Yeah.
And then like that one time Clark Schmidt had, I don't know, what was it like rosin and sweat on his hand. And then they just like told him to wash his hands and that was it. And everything was fine. But like Edwin Diaz comes out and it's like, boom, ejected 10 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like what's the It's got to be enforced correctly, but
it's so sketch. I mean, it goes all the way back to when I was a kid watching. I remember Mike Scott with the Astros he was like an ordinary pitcher, and then they said he became a sinker ball guy or a split finger guy. He saw Roger Craig, the guy who used to coach the San Francisco Giants. He was a pitching coach for a time, and he developed this nasty split finger. But what it was he was scuffing the shit out of the ball.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Yeah, all the guys I remember that he was dominant. The Mets couldn't hit him in the 86 NLCS, and luckily the Mets didn't have to face him again. They won in 6 games. But I was asking a guy who played, he was a pitcher. I won't say his name. I don't know. I just don't want to say his name. But he said the way that when Mike Scott started to get in trouble with the scuffing, because, he would do it in his own glove, then when they would go around the horn with the ball, the third baseman would scuff it up for him and then throw it over to him. So there's all kinds of ways. I mean, you know better than anybody. All this stuff goes real deep as far as the science of the maybe trying to get a step ahead on your opponent.
I mean, dude, the Astros were banging trash cans.
Do you still resent the Astros for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was 2019. You should have won that World Series.
Well, it was 2017 too. They were doing some stuff too, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was the like we shouldn't be here Yankee year.
Yeah.
And it almost got him.
And then with 2019 was the one where Altuve was like, "Don't touch me."
With the buzzer, allegedly the buzzer. Yeah, but no one ever found the buzzer, but allegedly there was a buzzer.
Will the Yankees make a trade for Vlad Guerrero?
No. I don't. I think that is the biggest load of bullshit smoke going. I don't think they'll trade for Guerrero. I don't think the Blue Jays would ever trade the Yankees Guerrero. I don't think the Yankees are going to trade for a first baseman at all. Unless it's a guy who can do like what J.D. Davis can do. Like they just got J.D. Davis, and allegedly he can play third base, even though he's a disaster festival at third base. But they have Rizzo, and if Rizzo is actually coming back, he's too big of like a locker room guy. They love him too much. Too big of a teammate guy. No, they're not going to go get somebody that's going to outshine Rizzo like that. Okay. Pete Alonso, Christian Walker, Vlad Guerrero. I don't know any other big name that may be better than Rizzo.
You guys wouldn't.
I think the number one guy that the Yankees should get, and then but whether he'll get traded or not, who knows, is McMahon from Colorado. That should be their guy.
What are some of
He's like tailor-made.
So why wouldn't you want Pete Alonso?
I'm saying I don't want Pete Alonso. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
And it's like goes back to what I used to say about when the Yankees had like Voit and Stanton and Sanchez, that like you have like 6 guys that could win the WWE heavyweight title. You get Pete Alonso on that team. But like I don't think it would ever happen. I don't think Steve Cohen would ever let that happen. Same thing with the Blue Jays. I do not think that front office would let Guerrero wear pinstripes.
What are the biggest stories in Major League Baseball right now as we're getting closer to the All-Star break?
Are the Dodgers going to make a gigantic move? There's a lot of smoke out there right now. The Dodgers are going to go get Luis Robert and Garrett Crochet from the White Sox and like unload their farm system. That'd be pretty interesting. I think who makes the trade for Robert and or Crochet is interesting, or like what the White Sox decide to do is kind of interesting.
Are the White Sox just going to do a fire sale?
Oh, dude, it is fucking bad.
Yeah.
It is bad. I don't know what's going to happen there. I think a bigger storyline, maybe it's not talked about enough, is like the Cardinals are kind of back too.
Yeah.
That's fun. Cardinals playing some damn good ball. And so like they're in it. And I don't really know if there are too many like drama-filled storylines in the Major League Baseball. It's just like some teams playing good, some teams playing bad. Like the Guardians are playing good.
Do you consider the Orioles as a legitimate threat?
Absolutely, dude. I have a nice future on the Orioles, like plus 1,300 to win the whole thing.
How do you do, as a Yankees fan? How do you make that bet?
That's called an emotional hedge, baby. That's what it's called.
How many are you watching the Yankees every night?
Yes.
Okay.
Dude, I watch at least a piece of all 162. Yes.
And so your schedule now really allows you to do that, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's nice.
Look at you're
Aside
healthy.
from the deck project, but yeah.
You're healthy, right? You've got a new home you're living in. You're
Yes.
strong. It seems like things are really going well for you.
Yeah, I guess so. I'd like to make more money. I think I'd like to talk shit about sports more often, but
I think
'cause I don't have
you've got the place right here. I mean, literally. When this podcast, it's going to become every day in the fall. We'll just talk openly. And when I talk to these,
I think you found yourself a guy.
when I talk to these guys about, this thing becoming more extensive, everybody brought your name up. People love Nick Picht. So yeah.
Yeah, eat your heart out, I guess.
All right, hold on.
Let me say this about the drama. Seriously, okay. Let me say this about the drama. I love so much that Major League Baseball is not the NBA. The NBA reminds me of like Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
Because the product on the floor is trash. But it's like being driven by like storylines, and it drives me crazy.
It's amazing.
No, it's terrible. It's amazing for like TV, I guess.
But it's an amazing just to watch the sociological experiment work.
Fascinating, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more going on off the floor. It's been like this for a few years now, too. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not going to speak on the quality of play. I'll leave that to you. But
I think the players are the best players we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I just think the overall quality of basketball is not fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like the Celtics are sick, dude. But the Celtics just play pick and roll, attack the matchup, drive the basket, kick for a three. It's every time down the floor. And eventually it just is boring. And they either lose by 30 or win by 30.
What do you think about J.J. Redick being your head coach for the Lakers?
Don't care.
You don't? You like Duke and you love the Lakers?
Yeah. More. It's just like it's a project in sociology. Don't care until we see it on the floor.
Yeah,
is J.J. Redick smart? Does J.J. Redick know basketball? Yes and yes. But it's June, dude. Like games don't start till November. Really, the games don't start until March.
Yeah.
Well, like I don't care.
Do you watch First Take ever?
No. Oh my God, no. Stop watching First Take. Do yourself a favor.
I sometimes will have it on in the background. I love Stephen A. And now they got my man Mad Dog on there. So I will watch.
Dude, Russo is so
He's still amazing.
Russo's so funny because it's just like, honestly, like that could be my mom and dad's neighbor, like Jimmy.
100%.
Like, I love Russo.
By the way, how are your
the
parents
best.
doing? Like, what's your dad up to?
Good, chilling. My sister's about to give birth, dude. 3 weeks she'll be.
So she got married,
baby.
And now she's having a baby.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's supposed to have the baby in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Unbelievable.
Guess who the godfather is?
Well, it's not you.
Your boy. It's your boy.
The Picht family is amazing.
I debated like growing the Marlon Brando, like the stash out just for when I come for the
What is your dad saying? Does he at all care about I know the Rangers, that was a while ago.
Oh, dude, that was like a knife to the heart. You kidding?
So what's he saying about the Jets?
Nothing.
Nothing? Does not care?
No. Not yet. My dad's very wrapped up in the Yankees.
Okay.
My dad was also very wrapped up in the Stanley Cup final. My dad was like very in. Like watching both games.
Well, I think it was an opportunity for all of America to be in. I mean, yesterday you had a Game 7 of a situation where a team had come back from 3-0. I mean, it had everything. If you aren't watching that game, you're never going to be a hockey fan. Like, not even a little bit,
I think that, honestly, if McDavid had done that, like, that's pretty transcendent. Like, that's in the Gretzky conversation. First guy ever to do it in the Stanley Cup final, like lead his team back. He still won the Conn Smythe, which I thought was really stupid.
Dude, it was weird. When the Flyers lost,
weird, wasn't it?
The Flyers lost to the Edmonton Oilers in 7 games in 1987. And our goalie, Ron Hextall, was standing on his head. He was unbelievable. And he won the Conn Smythe. And it was just, even then as a Flyers fan, it was super weird. I guess you could say, like, to the integrity of the voters, and I guess kudos to you because you're not just picking a guy on the team that wins. But
yeah, I thought Barkov could have won it.
yeah,
I probably would have voted for Barkov because Bobrovsky got lit up like a Christmas tree on a couple of games,
yes.
and in a couple of other games he was he was either really good or really bad. So I think Barkov though was excellent.
Did you watch all the, like every game?
No, actually, I had stuff going on where I watched like 1, 2, 3, and 7. So I missed the comeback, and I just had the Panthers. I just had the Panthers like wins, which was kind of nice because I was sweating a Panthers to win the cup ticket. So that was kind of cool.
What's the talk around you, your family, and everyone about this Biden-Trump debate coming up on Thursday night?
Actually, funny enough, there is no talk about it, which I love. I love there's no talk about it. Dude, this should be a wild ride, huh? We're going to learn a lot about the country and about our president in a matter of like 48 hours.
We're going to learn a lot. It's going to be, just buckle up, everybody, and be kind to your neighbor. Love everyone and try to keep an open mind. And just remember, that's why the Haktua girl is awesome right now, because it's the one thing we can all agree on.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
You know who's great too? The Oilers girl. How awesome was that, dude?
Well, hey, we're back.
On
we're back to the basics as like a sports country. It's great. I mean, it's like, well, all right, like let's just keep it simple for everybody, you know?
It was so funny when she put that video out and she was like, you know what? I was the girl that got drunk at a game and I pulled my boobs out. And if you don't like it, too bad. I was like, all right, I guess. And then you know what? She capitalized on her opportunity. She got the Playboy shoot. So, like, good for her.
I heard about that. I haven't seen any pictures, but yeah.
Oh, they posted them on Twitter.
Okay. All right. I'll take a look.
Yeah. So it was like, back to the basics.
I haven't seen her like face or whatever, so I'm curious to see what that looks like.
And then she went on the Spit and Chicklets podcast, so that was kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah. They did like a whole reveal, dude. That's how she went public. Is that she went on Spit and Chicklets and talked to Biz and Ryan Whitney.
That's so funny. Good for her. Good for her. I'm all about like women and empowerment and like
capitalizing
take
on
control
your
of the narrative. You know?
Yes, dude. Why not?
All right. Here's the deal. This has been fun. Right. We're gonna do. I want you to figure out a day that works in your schedule.
Was this my professional tryout?
No, you were already in, but I just wanted to chat with you about the Yankees, and I wanted to kind of
wait. I'll say this about the Yanks. All right, let me say this about the Yanks. I think if the Yanks make like the right moves at the deadline, they totally could win the World Series. Because who is it? Baltimore, who has no closer, and if you trust Craig Kimbrell in the playoffs, you're an idiot. You know this, Phillies fan. The Guardians, I just don't buy it. I don't buy their starting pitching. I think at the end of the day, they need an ace. And if they don't go get one at the deadline, they'll be in trouble.
What about the Phillies?
No. I'm talking about the American League.
Okay.
And then the West is like a total just crapshoot. So anyone could get super hot or anyone could fall off a cliff. The Mariners don't hit enough. The Rangers don't pitch enough. And the Astros just basically got hurt. So like the AL is wide open. If they go get like 2 bullpen pieces and a legitimate infielder, they totally could win the whole thing.
What about the hold on, let me see something. I want to look something up before I make a fool of myself. Yeah, okay, I guess you're right. The Rangers were really pretty far. They're 6.5 back, huh?
Yeah, but that's nothing, dude. I mean, the Mets came back from 7 back against the Mets.
Yeah.
Excuse me, blew a 7-game lead on like September 16th.
Yeah. Wow, the White Sox, 31 games out of first place, huh? 21 wins.
The Chicago White Sox are an epic dumpster fire.
Is that the worst team you've seen in a while?
The A's from like 2 years ago are pretty bad,
the A's right now are pretty bad. The A's are just a bummer, you know?
It sucks, too, because, like, I feel like they have history. You know, I was telling a buddy of mine the other day, like 20 years ago, little old Nick used to get scared of the A's. Like, dang, we got the A's. Like Zito, Hudson, Mulder, Rich Harden, Joe Blanton.
Yeah.
Joe Blanton, Philly guy.
Yeah, no, it's really a shame what's happened to the organization, and their move is still sort of up in the air. Are they going
to go to Vegas or are they not going to go to Vegas?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, everything I read, you think it will eventually go through, and everything will be fine. But there's all kinds of red tape and logistics, and there's no more support in Oakland, really. I mean, I think that's kind of run the gamut.
Why should there be?
No, there shouldn't be. And there was a time when that team, even before Little Pete was watching them with Canseco and McGuire, and they were consistently, packing that place. That stadium is a total dump. So I don't know what they do, but we'll find out.
Nah. What were you looking up?
I wanted to see how far the Rangers were out of first place. 6.5. That's not.
Oh,
terrible.
I love your Phillies too, though, dude.
Ah,
They're just
look.
so good. I love the Phillies.
I mean, what's not to like?
They just got to get, dude. This is it. This is like the year. I think if they don't get over the hump this year, I think like the window.
It's closing for sure. Yes.
Yeah. They got to get it this year. I think if you want anybody, biggest move would besides the Dodgers would be like if the Phillies go get Luis Robert.
Well, that's and I've seen a little bit of as you like to say smoke about that. So
yeah. But the Phillies need an outfielder. Like, I don't think you can rely on Rojas and Pache to hold it down in center field.
My boy Castellanos is doing great, though. He's going to start in the All-Star game. We're awesome. I mean, really.
The Phillies are really good, dude. And JT's been out, right?
Yeah. But when you see, like, a guy like Castellanos is going to start in the All-Star game, I just love it. Back in the day, we'd be like, okay, like, the Phillies are stuffing the ballot box. Like, what's going on with, like, their fans? We're back now. There's, like, there's such momentum behind this Phillies team. People in Philly, I mean, obviously we love a winner, but there's a lot of excitement around them.
It's cool to be a Phillies fan again. I love that team. Ever since they started dancing to I'm just dancing on my own in the clubhouse.
Really, and the fans it's done a nice job shining a light on the fans and how we really do have great fans. Every city has knuckleheads, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking at one. Kidding me?
Well, I was ashamed when I saw at the golf this weekend you were one of the people that rushed the green towards the end there. I thought that was kind of lame. You had the T-shirt on and everything.
I did go to PGA though. I went to the first
round. Oh yeah, I saw that.
Here. Yeah, dude, that was cool.
How was that?
I watched Schauffele's absolute heater in the first round. That was cool. And then I watched Scotty Scheffler. So we were at 9 finishes here. 1 like tees there.
Yeah.
So we got 9 and 1, and we were sitting in the grandstands. We watched Scheffler, boom, hole out on 1. That was super cool.
Tell me about what it was like. I mean, this is obviously I don't think it's ever going to be an old story, but what was it like around there in Louisville? Like when that all happened with the arrest and
Scheffler.
Yeah.
Well, the craziest part about it was that someone died, man. It was super sad.
Yeah.
And that's what started the traffic that let him kind of like do all that in the first place.
And if we know anything about police or like any of that stuff, like that's when they're going to be on edge the most, right? Like somebody just died. It's like nobody gets special treatment.
Man.
Like, hey, what do you do? You know what I mean? And I think I think the officer was probably a little anxious and pissed and like, nobody's going to drive around right now. That was always my take on it, you know?
Yeah, but I think Scheffler handled it super well. It made dude, people in the city were like talking about it.
Yeah.
Talking about it. And then, but I will tell you, we went Thursday and the traffic was so bad and the Uber and the Lyft situation was so bad that did it shock me that something happened pretty catastrophically? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Dude, it took me like an hour and a half to try to get an Uber and I couldn't even get it. It was one of those, driver unavailable. So what I had heard
maybe
was
if you start
Uber,
tipping these people, you
well, no, you're right, dog. I heard that they were pulling up to the area that they had designated for rideshare, and people were throwing hundreds at them, and be like, cancel your ride and drive me home instead. And so then no one was able to get the ride. Yeah, because
you're talking about you're a pretty affluent crowd, I'm sure too, right?
Oh yeah. Easily. So did it shock me that something kind of chaotic and catastrophic happened? No.
Yeah.
Still sad. It's horrible. You don't want that to happen to anybody. But I had never been to Valhalla either, and Valhalla's beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard it's amazing. Yeah, and that was there had been majors there before, so you think there would have been a little more equipped, traffic-wise, but that's good.
Yeah, right.
That's
the
good.
last one was in 14, I think. 14,
yeah, that's good.
Ago.
I mean, you're an investigative reporter, boots on the ground, telling us the real truth.
That's right. I know the cold hard facts.
Do you miss TV news?
No.
Yeah.
Do I miss telling stories? Yes. Do I miss sports? Yes.
Yeah. Well, here you go. You got an outlet now, pal. All right.
That's it, man. Hey, I'm down.
All right, cool. You're in. Seriously, we'll figure out a day like once a week for 25 minutes. Why'd you turn your thing again?
Oh, all right. Sorry. I just wanted to show you the bar.
Oh, show me the bar. Good. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's all. Just wanted to
all right, we're wrapping up with Nick Picht. We love you, Nick.
I love you too.
All right.
Look at this.
Now show me the bar. Thank you so much for spending time with us watching the Pete Souza Show. It pretty much took everything in my power not to talk about the girl, but I did it, I think. Bye.
We are Rogue Media Sports.